It's that time again where we dive into another video where we explore the woke virus that has plagued college campuses with people and their crazy ideas. As I usually say, I'm not going to talk anymore, so let's get into the video.
I'm Madison. I'm co-president of Spectrum, the LGBT organization on campus.
Great.
Love to talk to you about this.
Great. Thank you, Madison.
So,
My name's Steven.
Okay.
I appreciate it, you sitting down. And what is it that you disagree with?
So I think you happen to be, you're confused on the idea of gender versus sex.
I'm confused, okay?
Yeah, okay. So when we say there are only two genders, we often confuse the idea of gender and sex.
Sure.
Sex is a generalization of XY chromosomes, so we assume that, or, XY, XX, combination of chromosomes. So we assume that, male and female comes from your chromosomes, right? But that's really just the idea that there's only two possibilities of sex, right? So even within sex itself, you can be born intersex, which means that you're born with sexual characteristics of both what we would consider male and female.
She goes on to say that gender and sex are two completely different things, which is not true. These people are so woke that their brains have fell out of their heads. She states that there are many genders and then goes on to say that there's intersex, which still shows that there are only two genders. So her bringing up intersex was just pure stupidity on her part.
And then you have gender, and gender is more about a mental state based off of societal norms. So within our Western society, we often discuss gender as being binary, meaning that there's two options.
Sure.
So boy, girl, man, woman. However, in other societies, non-Western societies, there are more than two options.
Okay, can I ask you a couple of questions there to unpack? Appreciate you taking the time, by the way. So what was your name?
Madison.
Madison. So let's go to the sex concept before gender, I think, because the idea of gender being different from sex is predicated on the idea that sex is binary. That's where you mentioned that term, gender binary. So you mentioned intersex. Okay, I'm aware of intersex. Now, of course, intersex doesn't necessarily mean that someone is completely between sexes. Usually they have very identifiable characteristics, like a very large clitoris or micro penis. In that case, it also affects 0.08. People think this is funny, it's just true. Less than 0.08% of population Earth.
But they still
exist. Let me ask you this, in human anatomy class, how many fingers are you taught human beings have?
We're told typically that people have 10, however, there are people born with 11
But you're
fingers.
taught 10, right?
Yeah.
So we don't teach people there are people born with 11 fingers, there are people born with 12 fingers.
Yeah, but we don't completely dismiss that those people exist just because that they're uncommon, do we?
We teach that human beings have 10 fingers. I would wager that everyone here has been taught, yeah, human beings have 10 fingers. Of course, there are anomalies. That's the same way that we treat intersex, or these, as you said, you mentioned chromosomes, genetic abnormalities that are a very extreme case. So I think what we need to do is remove this extreme case with sex, just as we would with how many fingers, toes, how many kidneys you have, how many feet you have. There's something that's typical, there's something that's atypical. Then you go to gender. This is where, listen, I'm open. Everyone has said sex is different from gender, and gender is not non-binary. So I would allow you to kind of unpack that for me.
Yeah, so in Western society at least, so in our country, in our society, we tend to think of gender to be on this binary spectrum of not even really a spectrum, just a binary. So you have man, woman, and that's it. Those are the only two options. However, gender really is more of a spectrum. So it's non-binary. There are not just two options.
Okay.
You have man, woman, and then everything that doesn't fit into just man and woman is considered non-binary.
This is a thing I keep hearing recently, that in Western society, we keep talking about how there's only two genders and male and females, but in other countries, they don't believe that, as if that's to prove a point to anything. Yeah, other countries also believe that cannibalism is alright. Should we now engage in cannibalism? It's a stupid argument and it makes no sense. And all these countries that they keep mentioning, they don't even go to those countries to live in. They stay in America and propagate the rubbish that they believe in. It's very ironic that they keep mentioning other countries believe in it, but they don't even go to live there, and they possibly don't even know much about those countries, but regurgitate the things that their teachers have told them.
Binary, that's an umbrella term, and that includes a lot of different categorizations.
So how many genders are there?
You can't put a number on the number of genders because everyone uses different words to classify themselves.
I would disagree. That's where it changed my mind. I'm not convinced that anyone can just use any classification for themselves for their gender, and certainly not that then we have to compel society to address them this way.
Before we get back into the video, I need everyone to turn on their post notifications so that you get notified whenever one of my videos come out. Like the video as much as possible, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow me on Twitter at YinkaThatGuy. Let us get back into the video.
Right, I'm sure you can understand that the compelling of language is an issue.
So what gender do you think you are?
Well, I'm a male.
Okay, well I think you're a woman.
No, legally I'm a male.
Oh,
It says on my driver's license that I'm a male.
okay, so that's your sex.
No, it's yeah. I'm also a male.
That's your sex.
It says on my carrier certificate that I'm a male. Gender. Some legal documentations say gender.
What if I say I don't believe you?
It doesn't matter.
Exactly, it doesn't matter if you don't believe me.
No, it doesn't matter because biologically.
What gender do you think I am?
I would assume you're female.
Yeah, see, you're making assumptions.
Yes.
I identify as non-binary.
I don't. Respectfully, it doesn't matter.
It does matter.
Now,
actually.
let me ask you this: what would you say if I
It matters what pronouns you use for me. It matters how I'm socialized in society. It matters my gender expression. It matters the way that I'm allowed to express myself. It matters what bathroom I use. It matters who I'm allowed to live with. It affects every aspect of my life. So you saying
what pronoun should I use?
You should use they/them pronouns. So you saying that you don't believe me.
What if I don't?
If you don't, I would consider that disrespectful, and that's actually an act of violence to misgender a trans
It's an
person
act of violence.
If you guys have watched any of my other videos, you will hear I've said the same thing in those videos. But this is what the woke do. They change words to suit their agenda. It's an act of violence to not call someone by the pronouns that they believe they are. This generation in the West with these woke people are the most softest generation in all of history. They want to be victims of everything, and they want to be victims so bad. If it's not about your race, it's about your sex. If it's not about your sex, it's about your gender, even though they're the same thing. They want to be victims and they want to be oppressed so bad. It's very sad that we've come to a state in society where we have become so technologically advanced that people are just making up how they're oppressed now. It's so funny that being oppressed in the West is seen as a badge of honor. If you're an oppressed group, and I use oppressed loosely because they're not really oppressed, they just want to find some reason to complain about something.
To violence to intentionally misgender someone. Yes.
Here we come to the issue, and this is why I'm out here. You just said that's an act of violence. That means it's an actionable offense. That means it's a crime. So you believe that for me...
I didn't say it's a crime. I said it's an act of violence.
An act of
There's
violence.
a lot of things that are not considered crimes that are acts of violence.
Okay, so you believe it's a non-aggressive act of violence.
I think that, okay, when you misgender someone, if you were to misgender a trans woman,
yes,
trans women, especially trans women of color, are have the highest rate of murder within the LGBT community, right? So if you were to intentionally misgender a trans woman, that could put her at risk of murder. You understand that? Because people think because you're trans...
I don't understand.
I think that really does show that you're privileged in the situation then.
Yes, I believe we're both...
I think you're extremely privileged in the situation that you don't have to experience that, or that you don't have to worry about that, or consider that you don't feel like you need to respect people's pronouns.
I'm considering this and I'm asking you questions. You said these are the pronouns I need to use.
Yeah.
I said, what if I don't? You said that's an act of violence.
Yeah, I would consider that an act of violence against me.
Okay, so that's a crime.
Consider that
an act of violence against you is a crime.
I would consider that.
So,
I would consider you being disrespecting me as a person, and that's not okay, and that's not even ethical. It doesn't matter if it's legal, it's not ethical. And I don't know how you can do something that's considered unethical.
I don't know how you can not allow me to speak and ask questions based on your own premises. Please, we're trying to keep this civil. I haven't yelled at you. I haven't accused you of anything. You're getting very heated. You said that's an act of violence. That's a crime. Okay.
I didn't say that was a crime.
An act of violence. You said an act of violence against you is a crime. So
I did not say that.
You said it is an act of violence against you.
I said it's an act of violence, and I said misgendering anyone's an act of violence.
Yes, you said it is an act of...
Her saying it's an act of violence doesn't mean anything. What does that even mean? And this is what I mean by the woke want to weaponize language. They want to change definitions to suit their agenda. Her saying that means nothing. She's just saying words to try and add shock value. That's all it is. What does an act of violence mean? And who cares if people not affirming your gender is disrespectful? I would posit that you're disrespectful for the fact that you want to force me to believe in something I don't believe in. But of course, they don't care about anyone else other than themselves.
The violence against that person, that is in fact a crime. So here's my question. Since we've now decided we don't know the number of genders, it's a spectrum. It exists. There is no set number. You've asserted the premise that we are required to use the pronouns that are preferred by the individual. We have no idea how many pronouns there are. We can never know how many pronouns there are. And to not use a proper pronoun is an act of violence against them. Did you ask my pronouns before you sat down?
No, I didn't ask your pronouns because
Why?
I haven't referred to you with pronouns.
You didn't ask my pronouns, though. You just said you can ask.
Yeah, you can ask. What are your pronouns?
But you didn't ask.
What are your pronouns?
You just talked about me being privileged. You understand? No one goes around asking pronouns before they speak with people.
I asked you
and
how
so to
you
ask of a
identify yourself.
restructuring of society
I did ask you how you
based on
identify
a number
yourself.
that's
Did I
not tangible with gender versus sex is something that is incredibly corrosive.
Did I not ask you how you identify yourself?
No, I don't believe so.
Yes, I did. I did actually. You said you identify as male. And
She
that
did.
would.
After the conversation, sure. Okay, well,
Yeah.
let's say that, sure. So we need to ask pronouns before every person.
yeah.
And if we don't use those
If you don't-
pronouns,
yeah.
how many pronouns are there?
It's the same kind of thing. There aren't like
I'm sorry,
a
would
limited
you
number
just
of
so
pronouns.
people can see the sign? Would it be okay if you just step aside for just a second there?
There's not
We
a
also have a
limited
camera
number of
going.
pronouns.
Thank you very much. There's no limited number of pronouns.
No, I would
But if
say
someone-
the typical ones are she, her, hers, him, his, her, his.
Okay.
Sorry, him, he, him, his, and they, them, theirs.
These people are so delusional and they just come up with anything out of thin air. And I know you guys who are watching know this, and I say this a lot, but they always have a certain look. But anyway, that was another video, another reaction. As I usually say, if you guys enjoyed the video, like the video as much as possible, comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow me on Twitter at YinkaThatGuy, and I am out.